Today we're focusing on where did you come from? What is your history? Where do you come from? Not just in terms of where your grandparents came from or your great-grandparents, but where did you as a species come from? And that brings us to a very interesting theory called the Out of Africa theory, which we're going to explore for the rest of today. Now, for a long time, the support for cultural evolution, where we emerged as true modern humans, was restricted to evidence found in Europe and in Asia. Scientists suspected that there must be evidence in Africa too, but they hadn't actually found this. These very beautiful cave paintings come from sites in France, where it was very clear that very ancient humans that were living at the same time as Homo neanderthalensis, were producing artworks. When we look at artworks, we need to understand, were these organisms, these ancient humans, were they producing artworks for a particular function, or were they producing artworks simply because they were beautiful? It could be that the artworks were functional. Have a look at this one here, which shows us what could look like a cow. Sorry, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to turn this pen thing on. So I'm going to, can I take it from have a look here? All right. I want you to have a look here at this particular piece of artwork. Could it be that these tally marks are a way of counting time, or counting how many of a particular kind of organism has been killed for food? We don't know what they were intended to indicate or to be a record of, but clearly here the art or the painting on the wall has a functional purpose. But it could also be that the painting on the wall has a decorative purpose. In other words, a person painted the art simply as a record of what they saw, like you might write a story or paint a picture yourself. So it was thought that modern humans probably evolved in Europe, because this was where the evidence for this cultural evolution seemed to be centered. However, in 2001, evidence was found in the Blombos Cave in the Western Cape near Still Bay. Shell jewelry and 80,000-year-old artifacts made out of red ochre, which is a kind of clay, were discovered. The little clay tablets were inscribed with little crisscross engravings. So the tablets were kind of this shape, and on them they had these sorts of tally marks, sometimes crossed and sometimes in very nice neat rows. There is little doubts that when you're looking at these clay tablets, that you're looking at something that has been intentionally made and handmade. These marks didn't appear by accident or by rubbing the piece of clay against the floor, for example. These are intentional inscriptions on the clay tablets. So when scientists started looking at these clay tablets inside the Blombos Cave here in the Western Cape, they started realizing something extremely interesting. This artifact, these clay tablets and the shell jewelry, predates any such evidence found in Europe by about 40,000 years. So scientists have suggested that the piece of ochre was probably used in a functional way as a counting device. And if this is so, it's clear evidence of cultural evolution and a fair degree of cognitive ability 80,000 years ago. It's quite strange to think that 80,000 years ago, your ancestors were doing maths. This is an early example of symbolic behavior. It could well have been a way of communicating between individuals or between groups in a very graphic form. It could be that products or material goods were being counted. It could indicate a passing of time. Scientists and ordinary people with very simple curiosity have asked the same question then. Where did modern humans come from? Well, the theory that carries most weight due to the enormous amount of supporting evidence is the out of Africa theory rather than the European theory. And after the break, we'll have a look in further detail at this theory.